Welcome, gentlemen, back for another Fantasy Talk. It has been a little too long. I'm getting the itch again. So, hope you guys are excited. The new season's coming. It's coming soon. But for right now, I've got a first-time guest, Mr. JC himself, the Cream. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right.
That's awesome. That's good to hear.
Geared up for the season.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody is. It's been too long since those guys, the unnameable team, won again.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll get a different outcome this year. However, even more important is fantasy football, because that's right on its heels. I'm still enjoying my victory. Actually,
No, don't remind me. Don't remind me. I was happy to see a new champion in some respects, but at the same time, it's like, it should have been mine.
It feels good. Actually, I've been packing and everything, so a lot of the stuff's in boxes. Actually, was lucky that the belt was on the top of the box that it was in, so I was able to dig it out just to show it off one more time. All right.
It's okay. It's coming to a new home next year.
Yeah, that's true. It's going to be with me in a new home.
We shall see, my good sir. We shall see.
All right, let's jump right into it. First thing I wanted to talk about is we got two new guys. We've moved up to 14 players overall. So we've got Chad coming back again. So he was previous player.
Yes.
And then we got Caleb coming in. Now, I don't know if he's actually played fantasy in other leagues or not.
Caleb has us in the past, but it's been years.
Okay.
I want to say it was around 2009.
Oh, I see.
The last time Caleb played.
Yeah, that was before I got involved then. So
yeah.
So like I said, we got those two new guys. I'm kind of interested in who you think's gonna finish higher between the two.
Well, Caleb has a very large base of football knowledge. He's a Vikings fan like Sean, unfortunately. And he's diehard about his team. But we all know Chad's a wild card. Because Chad will pull moves that will have us all scratching our heads on draft day. But then he makes a deep playoff run. It's like, how the hell?
Yeah, no, that's true. I remember that one. That specific example happening a few years ago.
That one still hurts because... Yeah, because me and Chad fought in the semifinals for that year, and Chad called James apparently the night before and wanted to pick up a waiver that I was after as well, and apparently Chad had priority. It was a whole mess, and Chad won because of that guy, but I'm not bitter at all about it. No, not at all.
Doesn't sound like it. So who are you calling then?
Honestly, if it goes by the numbers, I think Caleb's going to have a good advantage if he doesn't get the homer mentality and just picks heavy Vikings players.
Right.
Like I said, you can never count Chad out because every year he plays, he always ends up picking somebody up that everybody else is questioning, and then it turns out to be a great player for him. He was the one who took Gronk in the first round first. He was the one that took J.J. Watt in like the third or fourth round.
Yep.
We were all scratching our heads. And then that year, he was like top 3 in the league in most weeks because of those two guys alone. Because Watt was putting up running back type numbers every week.
Yeah, that's true. No, it was crazy. He's the football oracle.
Yes.
He's got some knowledge coming from somewhere that the rest of us aren't seeing. All right.
I've given up on questioning it.
All right. So last year we had an addition as well. Joey came in, and I'm not sure where he finished. It was outside of top 5. If I'm
it was
not
towards
mistaken.
the bottom. I don't think he was like all the way at the bottom.
Okay. So between the 3 new guys, where do you see Joey finishing with his year of experience now?
Joey's biggest thing is he needs to trade more. I mean, there weren't a lot of trades last year, but Joey would not trade at all.
Right.
And I think that's one thing that hampered him because he had some players that other people wanted and could have made good deals with him, but he just closed himself off the trades and would not make anything happen. And I think if he can get over that not wanting to trade and spend more time on his team, I think Joey could do some good things because he had a pretty solid team. It's just that he had bits and pieces that he needed to move and never really pulled the trigger with anybody.
Right. No, I totally understand that. I get in that same kind of mentality where I'm like, well, I picked this guy because I believe he's going to do good. He hasn't yet, but maybe next week he will. And it
But the
just,
thing about it is, I found myself doing that as well.
you know,
But sometimes you gotta pull the trigger, and you gotta go take a shot on a guy who may be solid, and maybe not as much potential as the guy you have, but who's producing decent numbers, who's going to give you a boost in an area that you're lacking in. And I think that's where a lot of guys like see what makes James so dangerous is that his guys can be doing horrible, but he'll make the move for somebody who's playing solid, and then that person will explode.
yep, yep, that's true. It's very
Most
true. Okay,
most
so,
of the
no, go ahead, go
champions
ahead.
that oh, my bad. Most of the past champions that I've seen are people who they may not always have the superstar big number getters every week, but they have guys who consistently put up good numbers. Not great numbers every week, but good numbers who could put up great numbers. And I think that's something we all got to try our best to do better at is finding guys who give you great or give you good solid numbers instead of going for the guys who are boomer bust.
That's been my issue a lot in past years. I tended to grab too many boomer bust guys and not enough solid guys. So that's definitely a lesson that I learned last year, as evidenced by my shiny belt
Uh,
companion here. However, let's move on to this next topic. I look back through the last 5 seasons, I think it was, and you actually finished either 7th place or 9th place in every single season. So I don't know if 79 is just your unlucky number, or how do you feel about that? What do you think you've been doing wrong? What do you think you can change?
for me, it's always I'll have very strong backs or very strong receivers, and the quarterback situation has killed me the last couple of years. When I have a good quarterback, I'll have weak receivers, or I'm always missing one component of the offense that costs me. Because in
Right.
most years, if you look back at my numbers, I'm around the top five in scoring for, but I'm always against guys who are like 2 or 3 spots ahead of me in scoring,
I see.
and that's always my weakness.
Right, and that definitely that can happen a lot too. I know. I can't remember who it was last year. It was in the top 3 in scoring, but he would finished, I think, like 8th place or something like that. So it definitely happens where you have a good team, and then just that week, the other guy just happens to be a little bit better.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's been my story year in and year out. It's
yeah,
like I'll have instead of having a full trifecta of receivers, backs, and quarterbacks, I'll have one or two good spots, and the other spot will be just completely too weak to compete.
right, right. Yeah, no, there's not a whole lot you can do about that either. Just I guess stay active in your trades and the
Yeah.
waivers. That's about it. Um, all right. Is on that topic though, is there anything big that you're looking to change this year in your strategy or?
I don't want to give too much away, but I do have my eye on a couple of guys that I may take earlier than some people may expect them to go, just because I feel that they have a good opportunity to do some big things. I
Yeah.
know last year a lot of people were kind of apprehensive of me taking a rookie in the first round, but you saw he was top three backs in the league last year and our league in points scored. Zeke Elliott did work for me.
Yep. That was actually one of those guys that was questioning that pick until he actually hit the field, and then I was like, oh, well, I guess I don't know shit about
Well,
these guys coming in.
my former roommate is a big Cowboys fan, and he informed me that Zeke had looked good in practice. And compared to the last two backs that Dallas had 2,000-yard backs, he was head and shoulders a better back than either one of them. So he was like, dude, if you get a chance to get him, take him. You won't regret it. And I didn't regret it.
I'd say not. Um, but he's back on the board this year. Is that someone?
there's no way he makes it to be at 14.
Right.
If
Yeah.
Elliott makes it to 14, then something is wrong with the entire league. I'll be happy, but something's wrong with the entire league if he makes it back to me at 14.
Right. Yeah. It's very unlikely. I mean, even at third, if he's there, that's someone I might even grab.
I mean,
Um,
he's a great back, great system, second year quarterback.
yeah.
Because we all know usually quarterbacks take their slump in the second year, so it may mean even more carries for him.
Yep. It's very true.
For me, I usually I'll take my chances with rookies a lot because I'm a big college fan. So I watch a lot of these guys week in and week out, and I do my scouting pre-combine for the NFL draft and post-combine. So I typically have a good feel on who has the potential to do something in their rookie season. So that's another area that I may want to scale back some this year is taking a chance on a lot of rookies.
Yeah, and that's what I've always known you for, as far as football knowledge is you definitely have a leg up in the rookies coming in. But moving on to the keepers, we actually had a couple new rules this year regarding them. In that only the current champion gets to have their keeper picked in the last round. So I'm gonna get LaShawn McCoy at round 20, whatever, which is nice. But everybody else is now drafting their keeper in the 6th round, which is new.
Yeah, it is new. I like that a little bit because it keeps the former people who do have keepers from bogarting all the talent, and then at the end of the draft, they got masterpiece players waiting for them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I feel like this is definitely a move in the right direction too. Um, and then the other thing is that keepers. Actually, I don't know if this was last year too or not, but keeper you can only have a keeper for 1 year. Then you have to pick somebody new.
Last year was the first year that the rule was implemented. So, like this year's keepers coming back into the pool. This is the first time that these players have been unlocked from their team.
Right. So speaking of, we have AP, we have Le'Veon Bell, Odell, Antonio Brown, and Todd Gurley all becoming available again. So these
I
are definitely
see.
good guys.
I see three of them probably going in the first round, and two of them going anywhere from second to fourth round.
Oh, do you think AP is going to be picked possibly in the 4th round?
I think he could drop a bit because it's an unknown commodity on the team that he's gone to.
Right. I'm saying that
Because
that
you all
might
aren't known
feels
for
even
running the
high
ball a lot.
even.
So.
Like I'd be worried taking him. Well, I guess with 14 players, that does seem about right. Somewhere 4th round, third between 3rd and 5th even. Um,
Okay, I could see that. I think somebody may reach on him in the second, but I think realistically he'll go between. I think you're right there between third and fifth.
yeah,
I don't think
that's
you get out of the fifth round because by then you're looking for quality backup guys.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So I definitely agree with everything else though. Who do you think is going to be taken first between Bell, Odell, and Brown?
That's a tough one. I mean, Antonio Brown has been the top wide receiver the last couple of years easily. Bell, when on the field, is one of the best running backs in the league. But with him, he's one right now. He's one test away from a year ban.
Yeah,
So do you risk it on the guy who the last 2 years has missed time with suspension and injuries?
right.
Now on the field, he's a great talent, great young back. But do you really want to risk your first pick on a guy like that? And Odell is a head case. When
Yeah,
he's on, he's amazing, but when he's off, he's horrible.
yeah, that's true. So sounds like Brown then.
Yeah, I would put my money on Brown.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Um, yeah, no, I think that makes the most sense. He's been the more consistent of the three, and
Mm-hmm.
even though Bell is he's a running back, so he's more likely to put up slightly better numbers. Um, yeah,
He's a risk
yeah,
with suspension and injury.
yeah, exactly.
Now,
Okay,
my question is: do you think Todd Gurley is going to slip out of the first round? Or do you think somebody's going to take him in the first?
I feel like it's got to go in the first, just because there's 14 guys now. I think last year probably would have slipped to the second, but
I
this
think
year,
this year he slipped to the second. I mean, because last year he didn't have a great year.
right.
So I think some people may be gun shy on taking no chance on him in the first round. If he does, he may go mid to late first, but I'm seeing probably an early to mid second round pick for him personally.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. Which kind of leads into the next point. The keepers that were announced for this year. I guess really there's only 3 running backs on this list, so maybe Gurley could get pushed back. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But speaking of the keepers that got announced for this year, we had David Johnson and AJ Green going to James. I kept LaShawn McCoy, and Will kept Melvin Gordon. Barnaby kept DeAndre Hopkins, and Hayden kept Mike Evans. Now, I kind of looked through their teams from last year, like at their available picks, and just kind of jotted down some notes on who they might have picked otherwise. And the main thing I saw was that nobody wanted to keep a quarterback, even though you've got, I think it's the top 3 guys from last year, and Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, and Tom Brady. I'm not sure if he was the top 3 or not.
Yeah,
But
I believe he was.
so what do you think about that? Do you think that's a mistake, not taking, one of the guys that's going to be the highest scoring player in the league, or is it better to go running back, wide receiver there?
Okay, well, the issue is with all of those guys, all those quarterbacks. Breeze, he's getting up there in age. He's gonna have to start showing some kind of decline. Brady, you never really know. I mean, maybe somebody's worried about the Madden curse because offensive players in Madden covers don't do too well. And with Rodgers, who is going to be receivers?
Yeah, that's true.
How's offensive line going to hold up?
Yep, that's true. He
Like I was surprised personally when you kept LaShawn McCoy.
really, who were you looking at?
Well, I mean, I wasn't quite sure, but for me, LaShawn McCoy is a good back, but I just don't see him as. I can't remember offhand all the players you had last year. I just didn't see him as keeper quality to me personally. But every person has their own strategy.
Right. And for me, looking at it, I went to it with 3 players in mind. It was McCoy, Aaron Rodgers, and Devonta Freeman. Those were my keeper. Those are my highest caliber players that I had. Freeman, he split too much time with Coleman, and I actually considered for like 6 weeks out of the year trading him because Chris Nelson wanted him either for Coleman or in spite of Coleman, or there's a lot of different options there. But he did end up, garnering the most carries throughout the year, but still, LaShawn McCoy was a workhorse versus him. And so it really came down to between him and Rodgers for me. I wasn't sure, so I just pulled the trigger on the running back.
Okay, I can understand that. I like Freeman personally, and honestly, last year, if I hadn't been talked into it, I probably would have took Freeman second overall
Mm-hmm.
over Zeke.
Yeah, no, it turned out to be a good pick by you.
Oh yeah, but I've been high on Devontae Freeman since he came into the league. I
Mm-hmm.
told everybody that he was going to be the starter in Atlanta. People didn't believe me until he went off 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And the issue for him is it's hard to take a back in a system that's 2-back heavy, like with any of the Cincinnati guys, because you have 2 backs in that backfield who split carries.
Yeah, it's true. It's rough, especially because you're looking at it week in and week out, and then is he going to get the most carries? Are they going to end up throwing the ball so much in
Mm-hmm.
this against this opponent? In which case, you got different backs that are used more in those situations. But for me, I decided McCoy, even though it's going to be a new head coach, possibly a different system, but we'll see. The other ones I was looking at, however, was James picking up David Johnson and AJ Green. The only other people he had really to choose from, Jordy Nelson, Phillip Rivers. I I absolutely agree with his picks, obviously, in that
Oh yeah.
situation.
Oh yeah.
Will grabbed Melvin Gordon. I don't know if I particularly agree with his when he
I
had.
don't trust Melvin Gordon for multiple reasons. I watched the kid in college. I wasn't that high on him then, and the fact that he plays for the Chargers, I'm
Yeah.
always hoping that he tears the ACL.
Well, he had an option of keeping Drew Brees, Jeremy Hill, or Mike Wallace too. I don't know. Those guys, aside from Brees, aren't going to see the same kind of numbers most likely.
Yeah.
But
Now, I was surprised because of all the people that he had. I thought Breeze had the most. I mean, true, Breeze is probably due for a slight decline, but Breeze is almost good for 4,000 a year
yeah,
in that offense.
he's good for 5K a year.
Even without Brandon Cooks, I think that offense is still very potent. And
Oh
then
yeah,
adding AP is going to take some of the pressure off potentially from him having to throw 50, 60 times a game
yep,
and focus and make defenses stack the box a little more, which should free up the receivers even more down the field.
exactly. Yeah, we picked up Ted Ginn for exactly that.
Yeah, but Ted
He might
Ginn's
not be a
what
hands guy, but he'll be down the field in the area of the ball. And then Michael
he might
Thomas, of
catch.
course. He's
Yeah,
he's I think he's going to be a Pro Bowl quality player this year, next year. But
just hoping the team's offense can show up this year.
yeah, me too. But moving past the clearly the best team in the league, we're gonna talk about Barnaby's pick. He grabbed DeAndre Hopkins, uh,
Hopkins, yes.
passing by Sammy Watkins, Tom Brady, and Palmer. What do you think about that one?
It's hard to not pick Brady because Brady has shown the last couple of years is a top 5 quarterback in our league in scoring. But with DeAndre Hopkins, you get a number 1 wide receiver, which is a very hard thing to come by.
Yeah,
Now, a lot of analysts in the NFL don't see him as a number 1. I totally disagree. I think he is a great receiver, and I think they have a great young quarterback in Deshaun Watson for that team. If they can mesh and Watson can learn to work with the weapons that he has, to me, that is a team to watch out for in the AFC South this year to truly make some noise because the only thing they've been missing is legitimate quarterback play. They have a top 5 defense. The offensive weapons are there. They got a decent offensive line. They got a good running back in Lamar Miller. They got receivers with Hopkins, with Braxton Miller, and with Will Fuller III. So they have the weapons there. It's just can they get the quarterback in there who can run their system?
right. So, yeah, I agree. The only other real option I think he had was probably Brady, and I really can't fault him for grabbing Hopkins because, like you said, how often you get a chance to put a number 1 wide receiver into your lineup at the 6th round, you
Yeah.
know? Um,
And the thing about it is that we're all hoping that eventually Brady will fall off. Everybody but James and Christian. We're all hoping
yeah.
that this will be the year that Father Time will finally catch up with his ass.
Hmm.
But it just doesn't seem to happen.
It doesn't, and I think with all the revolutions and the money they have with the medical industry, they're going to keep playing for a little while longer, at least 2-3 years, I think,
I
before
think he
they have
sold
a
his
big
soul
enough
to the
fall
devil
off.
personally.
What's that?
I think he sold his soul to the devil, Illuminati.
That's entirely possible and absolutely terrifying because then he might play for another 10 years.
Like he plans to.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the last guy we had was Hayden taking Mike Evans. Uh,
That's not.
over T.Y. Hilton or Andrew Luck were the other 2 possibilities I saw.
I mean, the Colts offense is just so sporadic. You don't know if you can trust him or not. Luck has all the potential in the world, but it seems like he's been in his head the last couple of years. And T.Y. Hilton to me is not a number 1 wide receiver. He's a
Ooh,
slot. He's a slot guy. They don't
ooh,
have a true outside number 1. You can't put him outside on the edge against the top corners in the league and say beat them on the outside. That's what a number 1's job is to go win the double teams, the one-on-ones with top tier cover corners or the double teams. He can beat them with speed, and that's about it. He doesn't
Right.
have the size of a number one. If he was about 4 inches taller, yes, easily.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I agree with you there. So looking at everybody's, do you think you would have changed anybody's keeper pick?
The only one potentially, like I said, may have been yours, but I mean, you guys are former champ. You guys are champions, so you've done something right to get to the point to earn the right to keep the player. So I can't question that much because I've never won a title with you all, so I don't have that right to judge your picks.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, looking at it, the only thing that I would question would be Melvin Gordon. Um, he just doesn't have that star power name to me to be a keeper. And last year I was big on Mike Wallace, and uh, I know he did okay. I don't know if he did great or not, but
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, I can agree with everybody's. I can definitely see the appeal for everybody's keepers.
I regret trading Mike Evans to Hayden now that he locked him up
Yeah.
because I wanted to try to get him back this year.
Oh yeah. No, well, that's not happening now.
Yeah, no.
All right. Let's see. What else do we have? We have
The draft order.
draft order. All right. So there it is on screen for everybody. I picked up a number 3 pick this year. I had number 5 last year. So it's not too much different for me. However, you went from number 2 to number 14.
I'm not saying collusion because in the mock draft you guys did, I was like in the top tier, and then I went from the top tier to the last pick of the first round. I'm
Mhm.
not saying collusion or anything, but I was not happy when I watched the video for the draft special. Let's just put it that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was calling for you actually as I was doing it. I remember uh,
Yes.
in a much later rounds, but no. Fate, as it were, has decided you're picking last. So how does that change your strategy from last year to this year?
Well, of course, I won't get the pick of the litter per se. And with having the second pick, pretty much anybody is at my disposal. But it does give me a unique opportunity that I will have my first two grabs at top tier players. So once the first 13 guys are gone, not counting the keepers, I then have my pick of back to backs of the two top players that are left. So I can fill two holes off the rip.
Right. Yeah, I had the last pick a few years ago. I remember I was in a pizzeria doing the draft because I just got out of work just in time to make it. So I grabbed a laptop and went over to a place with Wi-Fi. But I remember back then it was nice being able to grab two guys back to back because you get your first two choices immediately. Then like you have two guys, which is nice because then you can grab two solid guys. They might not
Yeah.
have the star power, but you're getting you know numbers that you can count on week to week with something like that out of two guys.
Typically,
Um,
if you draft correctly, yes, you have the potential to pick up two guys right there out of the box. It almost puts you onto a similar footing to where the people with keepers are, because you now have outside of James, who gets three, who will have two keepers. After the first round, I'm pretty much right back with you guys, though, where I have two players already locked into my roster. The
right.
downside of that, of course, is I have to wait pretty much a whole nother 2 rounds before I pick again. But every time I pick, I'm picking back to back.
Yep.
So I have time to think my strategy through. Okay, what two guys do I want this time of who's available?
It's okay. So being a late order draft pick, I know last year the big thing that I saw was Will taking Gronkowski at ninth. Do you think? I mean, I know he puts up wide receiver, can put up wide receiver numbers, but that
When
feels like a reach. So
no,
is there? My question is there anything outside of running back wide receiver that you might consider at the 14th spot?
I don't want to give too much of my strategy away, but I think my picks may shock a few people.
Oh, okay.
But tight end is one of those give or take positions because you never really know unless it's a pass heavy offense. Like, unless it's a guy like Jason Witten, who you know is going to get you 800 to 1,000 yards a season, typically, there are not many tight ends right now who are putting up those kind of numbers outside of, Kansas City with Kelsey, Gronk, and New England. There are not a lot of tight ends who are putting up 800 plus yards a seasons.
Right. So, yeah, no, it definitely feels like a reach to me grabbing anybody. Well, obviously, if you're in 14th, quarterbacks become an option at that point. But obviously, you have the first round typically being running back heavy with a couple of the number one receivers sprinkled in there.
There are very few quarterbacks who will rate a first round grade these days.
Right.
Before the last 2 years, Cam Newton was one of those because he was a dual threat. He could give you 700 yards on the ground with about 35 to 4,000 yards passing.
Right.
But since the Super Bowl loss, he's gone downhill bad.
Yeah. Oh, big surprise there.
Just because I took him last year thinking that it was going to be his year before last. I thought it was going to be his redemption year, and well, no, it
Yeah, that
wasn't.
didn't work out. Okay, so the first 5 picks we got Chris, Dustin, me, Matt, and Joey. Who do you think's gonna go in the first 5 rounds this year?
Okay,
A little mini mock draft.
with Nelson, he's a homer, so I think he may go Julio if he can't. If he doesn't, I think for him it's going to be Julio or Bell or that boy in Dallas. I think that Nelson will. He's smart enough that he'll probably go one of the two backs, but he may surprise us and go Julio because Julio is top 3 receivers in the league when healthy. Easy.
Yep. Okay, so we'll put Chris down at Julio. Dustin is second.
If Chris does not go Julio at 1, Dustin will take him at 2. Not a question there. I honestly think that Chris will probably go with Bell or Zeke. I'm going to say probably Zeke over Bell, knowing Chris. And I would say Dustin and Julio too.
Okay. What about me at 3?
You at 3, I think you could be tempted for Bell because it's the first time in years he's actually left and been able to go back into the pool.
Yeah.
And I think you have enough savvy to take that chance on. Yes, he is a suspension risk, but at the same time, it's Le'Veon Bell.
Right.
When on the field, there's hardly any backs who are better than man.
Yep. Especially in our PPR league.
Yeah. And with you already having LaShawn McCoy, that pretty much locks up your running backs off the rip. Now, You could be tempted to go for Antonio Brown if you want to get a receiver early, but I think you are kind of like me. If you can lock up one position and not have to really worry about it again, I think you may, especially with a top-tier player like that, I think you may go Bell early.
Okay. What about Matt at 4?
That's where I think Antonio Brown comes off the board, if he's still there.
That makes sense. And what about Joey at number 5?
Joey. It's really hard to get a read on him because I don't know that much about him. I mean, from what he did last year, he didn't make a lot of moves, so I don't know what he really values. And I can't remember offhand his draft class from last year and how he went about it. But if we just go by the best players available, now this is where Gurley could come off the board. If Joey just goes by stats of players available, Gurley could go here, but I'm not 100% certain on how he drafts. I haven't done enough research on him to see how he drafts.
Okay. Yep. No, that makes sense. Yeah. No, this totally looks very possible to me. I definitely see Julio likely going in the first two round or the first two picks. Although they may shock us and neither of them grab him.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, you never know.
I think if Julio makes it past them, I don't think he gets out of the first round.
Ooh. Oh, no. Sorry. I misheard that one. Yeah, no, I agree with that. He absolutely goes in the first round, along with Brown, I think. I think Brown and Julio will both be gone in the first round.
And somebody may take a chance on OBJ.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think if Brown goes in like between 6 and 10, OBJ follows somewhere in there.
Yeah.
If Julio goes in the first two, if not, then he might be pushed back towards you or James. I don't know if James can pass up on him.
Julio Jones and AJ Green. Yeah, I don't see that happening.
Yeah,
I don't see him passing that up.
Yep. All right, man. Do you have anything to add?
I've enjoyed this. This was fun. I want to do it again some other time this season. I mean, I'm geared up for the season. I'm ready to get going. I've done at least 40 mock drafts already. Just trying to get a headspace of where people or players are going to fall. I've used several different sites and I have got to make the playoffs this year. It's been too long since I've been out, and it's getting bad.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, no, we'll definitely do this again. It's always fun. I'm actually going to be moving rather soon. I'll be there for the draft, so maybe we can set up something on the draft night or like just before the draft night.
Maybe.
Yep. We'll work for that. But for now, that's our pre-draft show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys are excited for football because that shit's coming up real soon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's go Broncos.
I don't know about all that. All right, man. It's been fun. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Peace.
All right, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the pre-football season, and I will see you on the field.